This morning's Jonh Ferguson from TBM Consulting Group. Jonh, good morning. Good to meet you.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to meet you as well.
Look, Jonh, give us firstly a bit of a brief insight here into TBM and the work you're currently doing within the mining space.
Sure, Andrew. We've been working primarily in two areas. We've been helping mining companies to avoid delays and cost overruns in the construction process, whether that's open pit mines or underground. And we've been helping mining companies and their contractors, their suppliers, to introduce and use lean tools and operating systems to improve their operational performance. Historically, these projects, mine constructions or expansions, run behind schedule, right? These delays cost not millions, but tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars in lost revenue and in cost overruns. And we've been working to identify waste in that process to eliminate those cost overruns and get those mines back open on time. So some examples that we typically run into, things like the process of explosions and removing rocks. This material, it's big, it's heavy, it's critical to move it as few times as possible because of the difficulties involved. We see examples all the time of teams leaving this material in front of where another team has to work, preventing them from taking the necessary steps and dragging the processes out. And this causes people to stand around with nothing to do. And this is a lot of waiting time that we focus on with our clients to help them remove. Another key area would be around shift changes as they transition, because mines typically tend to run around the clock in their operations. We've implemented a different approach for changing those shifts, I think, than has typically been seen in this environment. We've done this through what's called a war room concept or an operations center concept, which is something we've taken out of the manufacturing world, where everyone meets to review and coordinate their plans for the day. And this review can include in mining, for example, the number of explosions that are planned, the location of those explosions, the timing and the sequencing that's involved. And we help our clients prepare all the different teams that are involved to work together to successfully achieve those targets. And again, this can include the mine employees, and all the contractors and suppliers that are on site working in tandem and together. We've also worked around operation systems and effective execution. And I'll give you an example. One of our largest clients, and I think this is typical in some ways with other companies in the industry, they have a comprehensive management operations system, but they weren't seeing the results that they were expecting to get from it. So they hired us and brought us in to help introduce that to their people, re-educate them in that, and basically get them to understand how to truly use the tool. Basically, they knew the tools, but they didn't know which tools to use, when to use them. And we focused on standardized work and scheduling so that they got much better results from something that they already had in place.
You'll be speaking at the upcoming IMARC conference about best practices for lean mine construction, avoiding delays and cost overruns. So what will be some of your key messages?
Yeah, I think the most effective operations out there, mining operations, are already using lean concepts, and they're applying those tools to eliminate waste, accelerate lead times, creating ways to execute effectively. Lean tools like tack time and single piece flow that came out of the manufacturing world are some of the most important concepts that we feel can be applied to efficient mining. And it's important for companies to understand the purpose of those different tools in their environment, when to use them, and how to apply them. There's three specific areas we're going to focus on in my short presentation at the IMARC conference. One is the efficient movement of equipment. Moving material, like we spoke about, is time consuming and it's very expensive. Companies spend an excessive amount of time moving around waste when only, in our studies, 2 to 3% of the material actually contains high value product. And we're helping them to optimize the use of whether it's trucks in the open pit mining or conveyors and underground operations to minimize the wasted movement of invaluable materials. Another topic that we're going to talk about briefly is equipment availability and the importance of having robust and proactive maintenance plans, whether this is corrective maintenance or planned, preventive maintenance. If you can improve the uptime and the availability of critical equipment by even just a single or a couple of percentage points, it has a leverage effect with much more dramatic impact on the operating costs. And then finally, we're going to talk a bit about some of the things we've learned around the importance of organizational alignment. We use that plan of the day concept that I talked about in the war room, which is basically the lean approach to work teams and shift transfer. And we work with our clients to help their teams understand how they should measure results, which isn't always obvious, how to identify the root causes of problems that they're facing, and how to get people working together, particularly in this environment when you've got so many different organizations working side by side in the mine, but under different contracts and different performance incentives. And so that plan of the day approach tries to also connect to another process in lean, which we call a BEA, which is a more senior management weekly or monthly meeting where you solve the bigger problems that aren't tackled at the day in the mine. But it's all we attempt to try to interweave that to get the most efficient, resolution of problems.
And Jonh, I suppose, why IMARC? How important are events like this in getting the message out?
Well, I think IMARC, it's a large gathering of leaders from the mining community, not just from the mining industry itself. You've got the mining companies themselves, you've got investors, you've got contractors, equipment manufacturers, service providers like us, and logistics providers and things of that nature. We can all get together in a forum like this. We can discuss challenges. We can talk about successes that we've all had or seen. We can talk about the approaches that we've seen that drive profitable, sustainable growth, because that's what's ultimately important to the mines, and that's what's important to all the rest of us that are in their ecosystem trying to support them. Even with, from our perspective, even with lean and continuous improvement success stories in place, there's still some resistance to the concept, or it's not as widely known as we would like to see it. The discussion is shifting. Companies want to gain knowledge, and this is a forum for us to try to convey that knowledge. And we hope it provides that platform to expand awareness.
Good to speak, Jonh. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate it.